In late November, the University and College Union, UCU, entered into industrial action, a 3-day strike against deep-rooted issues in higher education. 70,000 staff from across 150 universities were balloted on issues around pay, conditions, workload and pensions, with many academic and support staff citing that pay and conditions are their main issue for wanting to go on strike. Now, as a relatively new lecturer, I've seen firsthand the issues that myself and my colleagues are hoping to resolve. But these issues are not ours alone. You see, our working conditions are the students' learning conditions. They are one and the same thing. And if we are getting a poor deal, then so are the students. And there is no member of staff in any university who wants to see students suffer. Universities should be places of shared learning, a hub of innovation, creativity and co-production, where both students and academic staff work together to critique and disassemble known knowns while simultaneously discovering new, unknown knowns. The university should be a place of free thinking, inspiration, motivation and achievement, a dynamic space that arouses new interests and recognises and rewards enthusiastic minds. Inside academia, it's true that not all universities are equal. Some have far more power than others. We know this, and as academics, we're reminded of this periodically through several metrics that are associated with the marketisation of higher education. So this marketisation can be traced back to the early 1980s and the policy changes that were brought in by Margaret Thatcher, John Major, and then taken even further by Tony Blair and Gordon Brown, all in the pursuit of a neoliberal capitalist ideology. So the beginning of marketisation of higher education institutions in the UK brought about the introduction of fees. And then by 1998, the Tony Blair government introduced higher fees, which elevated the amount that a student would pay per year up to £1,000 a year. So then by the mid-2000s, fees for attending university started to gradually rise and rise until they were at the level of £3,000 per year. Then following the election of the Conservative-led coalition government in 2010, fees rocketed. They were inflated to a grotesque sum of over £9,000 per year. This happened by 2012. And then this, with the attendant fallout apology issued by Nick Clegg, leader of the Liberal Democrat Party at the time, led to some of the largest student protests that have ever happened on the streets of the UK. To say that students and academic staff were angered would be an understatement. What we saw was the hyper-marketisation of higher education. Now, and directly because of this, marketisation means that all teaching-focused universities now must be competitive with each other for what we call bums on seats. This is an identity where each student has a monetary value attached to them, permitting the university to effectively stay alive through their recruitment. But what this also means is that universities enter into a cutthroat neoliberal world, acting effectively like competitive businesses that literally need to attract customers or clients, but simultaneously they do not want students to feel or act or behave like they are customers. Like any consumer, potential students now shop around for the best deals, the best places to study. Usually, they are measured by the metrics that I've just mentioned, including things such as learning, entertainment, campus resources, what is the satisfaction rate, what is the level of academic support. Now, big named or well-funded universities do very well here because students are paying for an education. Like any paying customer, the client also wants the best value for money. So many students are no longer simply coming to university to study a subject that they love, but one that will reward them with the best job post-graduation. Now, I can say as a UK academic with sincerity that most, if not all, university staff do not believe or even want marketisation policies to form any part of the university system. Education at all levels should be a public good. It should be free, it should be open, it should be accessible to everybody. We recognise that due to the encouragement of market policies and the stimulation of competition from students and from other universities, that students are feeling more and more precarious. Yet, aren't universities supposed to be nurturing places of innovation, of collaboration, and to celebrate achievement? This precarity has a direct impact on the ability and the achievements of the student. In universities, we recommend that students work no more than 20 hours per week because, as part of their student charter, if they are a full-time student and they are registered on a full-time course, that is their main priority. Students should be dedicating most of their time to their learning and their development. However, what we are increasingly seeing is this is sadly not the case. And I know many students are forced to work full-time, or they are forced to work across multiple jobs, simply so that they can afford to stay as a registered student. For many, it really is a catch-22 scenario because the student has to keep their head above the financial water. The student has, therefore, less time to dedicate to being a student. They inevitably miss lectures, they are overworked, they are tired, they become stretched and exhausted and stressed and struggle with poor levels of mental ill health. This is a massive problem because this results in poor attendance, poor attainment, and ultimately missed deadlines for essays and issues that the university then worries about, such as progression and retention, and graduation. But this also puts further pressure on the staff in universities too, because it results in the increase in the use of counselling and wellbeing services for both staff and students, significant demands on more in-depth personal tutoring, and the university having to deploy more and more health and welfare resources for both staff and students. Some university staff, although not trained, end up being more of a social worker than a chemist. Being a student is expensive, and a recent BBC report finds that students are struggling. As the cost of living rises, students inevitably feel the pinch more and more. Over recent years, and directly linked to the rise in tuition fees, students and staff alike are sharing the same difficulties. The pressure to achieve, the feeling of despondency and anomie, and social anxieties, The overall competitive nature of higher education has increased over the last decade, and it has not been for the better. Neoliberal competition and its resulting precarity for both staff, because they fear they may be out of a job if they don't recruit well onto their course, and also for students for obvious financial reasons, just doesn't sit right in what should effectively be public good. Competition, fees and inequality have ruptured the integrity of the academic system. And experts in academic integrity have identified that students are being increasingly tempted to purchase parts of their education through what we call contract cheating sites, or essay mills. So these essay mills are websites that will write a bespoke essay for students in return for a fee. But usually this results in blackmail, extortion, and ultimately expulsion from courses when the students get caught. However, through the introduction of AI packages such as ChatGPT, students feeling this same pressure attributed to the restricted time that they can actually spend being a student, they are now resorting to having an AI program prompt or even write their essays. I have more videos on AI on my channel, so please be sure to check in on them in the link below. What would ease all these pressures that students face is a renewed look at how the socio-economic and socio-political system treats students. Students need the time and the space to concentrate fully on being a student and to no longer be considered as a customer. Now, a basic income, a UBI, is one way in which the student can really become a student once more. You see, a UBI would significantly reduce the pressure placed on students to balance competing responsibilities, and it would allow them to focus once more on being a student. What's more, this will also relieve the pressure currently being faced by university staff as they see declining levels of physical and mental health within their students. It will also almost certainly remove the desire for students to use contract cheating companies and AI tools to write their essays. Students and the communities in which they live, work and support are the next generation of industry innovators, community leaders, nurses, teachers, technicians, artists, creatives, engineers, so much more. And as a university lecturer, I hope we can help them achieve this position and really make education a public good once more. A UBI goes a long way to achieving this. If you've liked what you've heard in these videos, please check out the rest of my channel, That Sociologist. On That Sociologist, you'll find videos just like this discussing academic subjects and how it meets your needs as either a student in higher education or maybe as a student in A-levels or college studying subjects on sociology or social policy. So please be sure to check out the rest of my videos.